Good morning, students. In the last class, we have discussed about a few modes of asexual reproduction. So we are left with the last part of the reproduction in the asexual part, which is known as vegetative propagation. So today we shall discuss about a few concepts regarding to propagation. First, we shall see what is the meaning of vegetative propagation. So vegetative propagation is nothing but a formation of a new plants from the vegetative parts of the plants. As you are already aware of that, we can develop certain plants by using the parts of the same plant. Either it may be a root, a stem, or a leaf, or a bud, etc. By using these parts, we can able to develop a new form of plants, which is actually called as vegetative propagation. Now this vegetative propagation is of two types. One is natural, another one is artificial. First, we shall look into the natural methods of vegetative propagation. In this method, the plants is going to multiply with the help of their vegetative parts, and which are occur naturally in the plants. So let us see what are those natural methods of vegetative propagation. So first we shall look into the roots. We know that certain plants can able to develop from the roots. If you sow the roots of that particular plant, and we can get a new plant from that particular part. So example you can give for this one is sweet potato, dahlia, etc. Carrot, you can give an example for carrot, radish. All these are developed from this natural method of vegetative propagation by means of roots. Here the plants is going to develop certain buds which are called as adventitious buds. Through that it can able to develop a new plants. Now you can see the image here where we can able to see the adventitious roots. From this we can able to develop a new plant. Next mode of vegetative propagation of natural method is stem. Yes, by using the stem also we can able to develop a new variety of plants. So in this particular category, stems are considered in the form of stolons. Stems may be in the form of runners. Stems may be in the form of suckers. Stems may be in the form of rhizomes. Stems may be in the form of cones. Stems may be in the form of bulbs, stem tubers, or like aerial stems. All these are different forms of stems from which we can able to develop a new plant. And some examples are for this particular method is banana, ginger, turmeric, and potato. You can look into the image here, ginger, where we can use the ginger which we use in our day-to-day life is as a stem part. So by sowing that particular stem, we can able to develop a new plant. Next mode is leaves. You are already familiar with. So by using the leaves also, we can able to develop a new form of the plant. The best example you can give for this particular mode of vegetative propagation is bryophyllum. So bryophyllum in Kannada it is referred as Brahmakamala. So by using this particular leaf of this particular plant, we can able to develop a new plant. So you can see the image here where the leaves are bearing the buds in the marginal notches. As the leaf comes in contact with the soil, the buds sprout to form the new plants. Next we have another form of vegetative propagule which is known as bulbils. What are these bulbils actually? Bulbils are nothing but fleshy buds which separate from the parent plant and give rise to a new plant. So for this we can give a best example is agave is one such plant from which we can able to develop. Agave is going to develop from this bulbil part. Oxalis is another important plant which is developed from the bulbil part. You can see the image here, so, which can develop the bulbil area here. So it's also almost similar to like even onion, what we can able to see here. So onion is also one form of bulbil, it's a propagule from which we can able to develop a new plant. Next we shall move on to the artificial method of vegetative propagation. Now under this artificial method, as the name indicate, it is actually developed by the humans. So we are developing certain methods in order to develop a new variety of plants within a short span of time, because natural method takes longer time to sprout or to develop a new plant, but by doing this artificial methods we can get a new variety of plants within a short span of time. So for that purpose, in order to get more varieties, more number, we are going for this artificial methods of vegetative propagation. Now let us look into these artificial methods of vegetative propagation now. Now as we know, artificial methods are actually developed by a group of people who are referred as horticulturists. Who are these horticulturists? Horticulturists are those people who develop the vegetables, who develop the fruits or whatever. These people are referred as what we call horticulturists. And here we can see the rapid multiplication process so that we can able to develop a new variety within a short span of time. Some of the methods of artificial methods are, number one, it is cuttings. It is normal, similar to your natural method of root, stem and leaf. Here also we are going to develop a small piece of stem or a root or leaves and sow them in the soil, and we are going to get a new plant. So these are actually the cuttings, whatever we cut, whether it's a stem, whether it's a root or whether it is a leaf, we are going to place them in a moist soil, and so that we can able to later onwards we get the new plant. So the best example you can give for this artificial method of vegetative propagation through cutting is sugarcane. So sugarcane is one such example you can give for this cutting process. So next is layering process. We have another important artificial method. Nowadays most of the flowers, most of the vegetables, most of the fruits are getting this particular method. So here what actually they will do, why this process is known as layering, because here what we have to do here is a soft 1 year old basal branch is defoliated. We have to bend that particular branch of the plant for few centimeters in the middle part of the branch. Then that defoliated, what we have done is given a small cut. First we have to bend that particular portion, then that bending portion has to be cut in the form of a V shape or a ring like. Then that part has to be pegged down and then covered with soil. So that particular portion which we have defoliated and which we have pegged down, that is known as layer. That's why the process is known as layering. After a few days, that injured part or a defoliated part will develop as a new roots, and then the layer is now cut off and planted separately. So by using this method, we can develop jasmine, grapevine, pomegranate, etc. You can look into the image how that layering has been done. See here what I have already explained here. Now it is given in the picture. So what I have told is we have to defoliate. You have seen in the picture which is bent, actually the branch has been bent in that particular figure, and that bended portion has to be cut in the form of a V shape. Then that has to be pegged in the soil. You have seen that particular thing. After a certain days over, we can see the roots are going to be developed in that particular area. Later we can separate that particular plant and then we can develop into a new one. So this is what we are going to do in the layering process. Jasmine, grapevine, pomegranate, apple, etc. we can get by this particular method. Next we have another artificial method, we call them as grafting. Now grafting means we are joining two different varieties of stems and make them in a common plant, because we are separating two different parts and joining them as a single plant. So that particular method is known as grafting process. So here the joining of shoot system of one plant over the stump of another related plant so as to form a composite plant that grows as a single plant. So here the part which develops the shoot system is called as scion, and the part which develops the root system is known as the stalk. We can able to see this particular picture here, which is called as scion and stalk. Here there are two different forms of the same plant, but we are joining them to form a single plant. This is how. See, rose is there, jasmine is there. So rose and jasmine are those different varieties of flowers, but we are joining those two stems and making one composite plant and develop them as a new plant. This process is known as what we call grafting. You can see one more picture where we can see the apple of different varieties, different colors of apples we can get. Both are apple plant only, but we are getting different colors of plant. That also can be done in this grafting process. Yes, after knowing about all this artificial as well as natural method of vegetative propagation, hope you have come to a mind that there are certain advantages by using this method. In the beginning I have told that instead of going for natural method, we can go for vegetative propagation by an artificial method, because as we know we can get different varieties of plants, many varieties of plants within a short span of time. On the other hand, we can also able to develop seedless plants from this particular method. Then we can also get good qualities of variety can be maintained. We can also develop uniform quality, size, taste of seeds and fruits. Then the plants which are produced by this method can bear the flowers and fruits earlier when compared to the natural methods. In natural methods it takes may about 15 years or 20 years or 10 years. But in this artificial method we can able to develop the plants with flowers and fruits very earlier only. So on the other hand, we shall look into the disadvantages of the vegetative propagation now. What are the disadvantages of vegetative propagation? So as we have seen advantages, we should also look into the disadvantages. We have certain disadvantages by this particular process. What is that? Number one, so vegetative propagules, what we have told, vegetative parts cannot be stored for a longer duration. Another one, the plants are unable to adapt themselves to changes in the environment, which means the plants which are developed by this method cannot able to adjust to the environmental conditions. Then as very important thing is that desirable characters, what we want in that particular plant, cannot be introduced, and even the undesirable, whatever it is already there in the plants, cannot be eliminated. The important point is diseases contracted by a parent spread to all the daughter. Even if the parental plant will have some diseases, obviously the daughter plant will also get that particular diseases. These are all what we can see, the disadvantages of vegetative propagation. Next, after discussing about all the different modes of asexual reproduction, now we shall move on to the next part of the lesson, which is known as sexual reproduction. So we know that sexual reproduction is a mode of reproduction in which the young ones or the offsprings are developed from the fusion of the gametes, which means here the parents are going to be involved. Both the parents are involved in this particular mode of reproduction, and this particular mode of reproduction will cause a lot of variations. And the process involves very important processes. Reshuffling of genes is going to take place during the sexual reproduction, because there's the most important division is going to be happen in the reproductive cells, which is known as meiosis cell division. And during this meiosis cell division, there is one important phenomena known as crossing over is going to take place. During the crossing over process, there will be reshuffling of genes, and because of that we can see a lot of variations between the offsprings and the parents. Now let us look into the differences between now sexual and asexual, or in other words, so what are the advantages are there in sexual reproduction over asexual reproduction? If you look into the differences here one by one, yes, as we have already seen in the asexual reproduction, it is uniparental. In sexual, as we know, it is biparental. In asexual reproduction, all the divisions are mitotic division, whereas in sexual reproduction, so all the divisions are mitotic, but there is also meiotic cell division is going to happen once. Then in the asexual reproduction, so no gametes are going to form, but in sexual reproduction, gametes are formed. In asexual reproduction, so fertilization is absent, but in sexual, fertilization is present, because without that, there is no process at all. Then in asexual reproduction, so no zygote formation, but in sexual reproduction, the fusion of gametes result in zygotes. Then asexual reproduction results in less variations, whereas sexual reproduction results in more variations. With this, we have just completed the vegetative modes of reproduction, and we have just introduced the topic of sexual reproduction. So we shall discuss much more concept in the next session. Till then, bye. Thank you.